Chair Sapien, we have quorum. You may proceed as soon as you're ready.
Thank you so much. Welcome, everybody. I shall proceed. Thank you so much. First item, call to the order. Good afternoon, members of the MAG Transit Committee. This meeting is now called to order. As a reminder, please turn your mics on and clearly state your name before speaking to ensure that members of the audience can hear you. And please mute your mics when you're not speaking to eliminate feedback noise. Star six to unmute themselves. The MAG public comment process allows members of the public to comment on items on today's agenda or on other items that fall under MAG's jurisdiction. We will now begin the meeting with a roll call of all members.
Thank you, Chair Sapien. I will go ahead and take roll. Start with Jill Dusenberry. Matt Dudley. Matt, I thought I saw you on. Just want to confirm. Matt Dudley. Andrew Blanchard.
Here.
Thank you. Jason Crampton.
Here.
Thank you. Jose Macias.
Here.
Thank you. Jeff Graves. Don Coomer.
Here.
Thank you. Stephanie Bubenheim.
Here.
Thank you. Vice Chair Link.
Here.
Thank you. Christine McMurdy.
Here.
Thank you. Tony Flood.
Here.
Thank you. Reed Kempton.
Here.
Thank you. Edward Jones.
Here.
Thank you. William Beloit.
Here.
Thank you. Nina Arredondo. Heather Wilkie.
Present.
Thank you. Ratna Corpella.
Here.
Thank you. Salvatore Lupuma.
Here.
Thank you. Kristen Taylor.
Here.
Thank you. Sam Stevenson.
Here.
Thank you. Gabe Elias.
Here.
Thank you. Carol Ketcherside.
Here.
Thank you. Grant Anderson.
Here.
Thank you. And last but not least, Chair Sapien.
Here.
Thank you. Are there any members that I missed? All right. Thank you, Chair. We have quorum.
Thank you so much. Our next item is called to the audience. MAG provides the opportunity for the public to comment on items that fall under MAG's jurisdiction that are not on the agenda or that are on the agenda for discussion and not for action. Members of the public are invited to submit written comments via the MAG website. Any comments received 2 hours prior to the meeting have been shared with committee members in advance of the meeting for consideration and will be included in the formal meeting minutes. Staff, have we received any online written comments from the call to the or the call to the audience? I believe that's what you distributed earlier today.
Correct, Chair. Those were distributed. Those comments were distributed to committee members prior to the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Do we include them considering they're coming from Chandler?
We sure did.
I'm assuming the new addition to the MAG family, Chandler. All right.
I'm just glad I wasn't from our jurisdiction.
Oh, thank you, everybody. Item number 3, MAG Transportation Planning and Performance Program Manager's Report. Ted Brown will be providing today's report.
Thank you, Chair Sapien. Good afternoon. My name is Ted Brown. I've been with MAG in a variety of roles for the last 15 years, everything from transportation modeling to long-range planning to most recently leading the performance program. Pleased to be here today with you all, and I wanted to share some recent MAG staffing and organizational changes. The transportation planning and transportation performance programs have been combined under my leadership in the Transportation Policy and Planning Division. Audra Kester Thomas has been named MAG's Chief of Staff, and John Bullen is MAG's Chief Transportation Officer. Special thank you to Audra for her time serving as MAG's Transportation Planning Program Manager and for her reports to Transit Committee. Today, we also have some new members joining us. It's my pleasure to welcome Andrew Blanchard, representing the City of Buckeye, and Sam Stevenson, representing the City of Tempe, as new members of the MAG Transit Committee. Welcome, gentlemen. We also have a couple areas of interest today. As a reminder, the terms for Vice Chair and Chair will expire on December 31st. Thank you to Chair Sapien for your years of service. Vice Chair Kevin Link will ascend to the chair position. We have also received a letter of interest for that open vice chair position from Ratna Corapella at the City of Scottsdale, and the MAG Executive Committee approved this appointment at its November 13th meeting. Thank you all for your time and for your service to MAG's Transit Committee. I have a very brief Proposition 400 extension update. On November 1st, the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors adopted a resolution that put the Proposition 400 extension onto the November 5th, 2024 ballot and officially named it Proposition 479. This is another step forward on the path to extending this vital regional investment. Finally, the 2024 Transit Committee meeting schedule is now available. Hannah will send out the 2024 calendar memo to the committee following this meeting. Please remember to place these dates on your calendars. That completes my report, Chair Sapien. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Ted. Appreciate it. Next item is approval of the consent agenda. Item 4A, approval of the September 11, 2023 Transit Committee meeting minutes is on the consent agenda. Does any member of the committee have questions on this item? Also, staff, have we received any online written comments for the consent agenda?
Chair, we did not receive any online comments regarding this agenda item.
Thank you so
Chair.
much.
Chair, this is Christine in Goodyear.
Yes, ma'am, go right ahead.
This is for Steph Stearns. Last month, or not last month, 2 months ago, we talked about the Avondale, Goodyear, West Phoenix new UZA, and Steph referred to some activities at MAG that would be taking place since we last met, involving the creation of policies associated with the new designation. I just wanted to see if MAG staff could provide an update on that. That's my only question. Thank you, Chair.
Chair, we will have staff get in touch with Christine McMurray. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Is there a motion to approve consent item 4A? We need a motion and a second.
So moved. This is Jason, City of Chandler.
Thank you, Jason. Is there a second?
Yeah, Reed Kempton with Maricopa County. I'll second it.
Thank you, Reed. We have a motion from Jason and a second from Reed. We will have those participating in the meeting online take part in a voice vote by turning on their cameras and unmuting their audio. We need to see the faces of everyone to participate in the voice vote. This is to speed up the voting process. For those who cannot or do not want to turn on their cameras, staff will conduct the roll call vote. Staff will only call on those virtual participants who do not turn on their camera. Members, please leave your cameras on until after the roll call vote so that staff can count the people's names whose cameras are not on. Can I have a voice vote for those online? Those in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed, say nay. Staff, can you take a roll call of the members participating virtually who did not turn on their camera?
As chair, I'll start the roll call with those who do not have their cameras turned on, and I'll start with Don Coomer.
Approved.
Thank you. We have Elias.
Aye.
And Stephanie Bubenheim.
Aye.
Thank you. Chair, that completes roll call for this vote and it passes. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I like that method of voting. All right, item number 5 will be presented by MAG Transportation Planner Brian Rubin. This item is on the agenda for recommendation of approval. Brian, take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Pleased to be here today to present our regional transit asset management performance targets today. Next slide, please. It's been almost a year since we've presented to this committee on TAM, so I thought I'd give a brief refresher. The Moving Ahead for Progress in the 21st Century Act, better known as MAP 21, excuse me, directed the FTA to issue new asset management requirements for grant recipients. It outlined that all recipients of Chapter 53 federal funds that own, operate, or manage capital assets need to have a TAM plan. It further laid out the details of what is in the plan, including the people, processes, and outcomes. Here at MAG, we don't need to develop a full-blown TAM plan for the region, but we do need to set regional TAM targets, which is why I'm here talking to you today. Next slide, please. TAM is split into Tier 1 and Tier 2 agencies. In our region, we have 4 Tier 1 agencies responsible for developing and carrying out the TAM plans. Those 4 agencies are Valley Metro RPTA, Valley Metro Light Rail, City of Phoenix, and City of Tempe. Tier 2 agencies have the option of either developing their own TAM plan or participating in a group TAM plan. Next slide, please. Thank you. Lastly, TAM requires that we set and measure performance targets annually for these 4 categories: rolling stock and equipment, which are measured in the age of the asset, and facilities and infrastructure, which are rated on a 5-point scale. The chart on the left here is an example of guidance provided by the FTA, and it's the useful life benchmarks for different types of vehicles. Now, before I move on to the next slide, I do just want to reiterate that I have the privilege to be presenting the hard work of others. My colleagues at the Tier 1 transit agencies are the ones in the trenches doing the hard work. Couldn't do this today without Wendy and Eric at Valley Metro, Carl at the City of Phoenix, and Sam at the City of Tempe. All right, on to the targets. Next slide, please. Presented here are the fiscal year 24 TAM targets. To help provide you some context, we're presenting the percentage as well as the actual numbers. I understand the chart's really a lot to look at and to take in all at once, but the general take is here that we're in pretty good shape overall. Next slide, please. So here you can see how our percentages are changing from last year. Green shows an improved target, while red shows where we have increased our percentage. You'll note a few interesting tidbits here, one under the cutaway buses where, like last year, we have improved our target, and another under equipment and 8-year autos where we see a substantial increase. Once again, I think the percentages aren't the full story here, so we've also included a comparison of the actual numbers in question. A couple items of interest here. We have a few new categories this year, including steel-wheeled vehicles. And the steel-wheeled vehicle is a vehicle purchased as a car mover for the light rail vehicles. These vehicles have wheels for rail or to be used on the road. Additionally, I'm sorry, next slide, please. Now, looking at those 2 numbers again, we can see that our cutaway bus target has improved because we've purchased 4 new vehicles and retired 3 vehicles no longer fit for service. We also see that 4 of our 8 vehicles in the 8-year auto will exceed their useful life benchmark. Next slide, please. Okay, I'd like to finish these up with next steps or action items. We have a TAM working group consisting of the Tier 1 agencies that meets annually, and that's a process that we intend to continue moving forward. That group has already done some outstanding work bringing these targets into congruence, and we'll continue to refine the process. As always, we'll be back next year to bring you these targets once again. Next slide, please. Mr. Chair, this item is on the agenda today for action, and that completes my presentation, and I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brian. Do any members have questions or comments?
Mr. Chair, this is Jason, City of Chandler.
Go ahead, Jason.
So, Brian, the targets themselves aren't changed from last year, right? We're updating the presentation you showed us just showed the update of how many of each type meet the targets, but the targets didn't change from year to year, correct?
Mr. Chair, Mr. Crampton, the targets do change each year. If we can go back to slide 6 and slide 7. I'm sorry, that's on mine. One more down here, we can see the change from fiscal year 23 to fiscal year 24 on the targets, both in the number as well as in the percentage in the slide before this.
Sorry, the benchmark, right? That stays constant, and then the percentage, that's the target.
Gotcha, that's correct. The useful
Okay.
benchmark,
Okay, yeah,
useful life
sorry.
benchmarks are set by the FTA. Those don't change.
Okay, that sounds good. That's what I was getting at. Thank you.
Gotcha, absolutely.
All right, any other questions or comments from any member cities? If not, staff, have we received any online written comments for this agenda item?
Chair, we did not receive any online comments for this agenda item.
Okay. Is there a motion for recommendation? I'm sorry. Okay, thank you. Is there a motion for recommendation of approval for this item number 5? I need a motion and a second.
Kristen was surprised. I'll move for approval.
I
Thank you.
second. Anderson.
Thank you. It's a motion from Kristen and second from Grant. We will now have those participating in the meeting online take part in the voice vote, same as before. Turn your cameras on if you're voting, and Hannah will take a poll of those who did not turn their cameras on. Can I have a voice vote of those in the room and those online? Those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say nay. And Hannah, can you take a roll call of the members participating virtually who did not turn on their camera?
Yes, Chair, and I will begin with Don Coomer.
Approve.
Thank you. And Stephanie Bubenheim.
Aye.
Thank you. And Gabe Elias.
Aye.
Thank you. Chair, that concludes the roll call vote on this agenda item. The motion passes.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. All right, we next move to item number 6, Transit Propensity Index. This will be also presented by MAG Transportation Planner Brian Rubin. This item is on the agenda for information and discussion. Brian, take it away.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair. Pleased to be here with you all once again to talk about our recently completed Transit Propensity Index development. Next slide, please. A transit propensity index is an index which measures transit propensity or likelihood of using transit based on a combination of criteria. Next slide, please. As part of our Regional Transit Framework Study update that was completed in 2019, a transit propensity index was calculated. Unfortunately, this was a point-in-time calculation, and the methodology used to calculate the index was not shared. And we found TPI to be a useful data point, but the numbers had become out of date. Because of this, we sought to develop a repeatable and transparent methodology so that we could calculate and update our our TPI on an ongoing as-needed basis. On the screen, I've listed out the steps we took to develop our TPI. Next slide, please. Our best practices review began with the web scan to get an idea of how other agencies address TPI, from what their criteria were to calculate their metrics, and anywhere to the geographic scales of their analyses. After completing some online research, we decided to further look into 3 peer agencies that are shown here on your screen, representing the San Diego, Salt Lake City, and Dallas, Texas areas. Next slide, please. On your screen here, we can see all of the transit propensity factors that were recommended for calculation. With these factors, all of the data is census data that's obtained from the American Community Survey. And the factors and criteria that were selected were those that had the strongest correlation to transit ridership. Next slide, please. As part of this project, a calculation tool was created. And what we can do with this tool is it's a spreadsheet-based tool where we have separate tabs to enter in normalized data for each of our factors or criteria. We can then adjust the weights and calculate transit propensity index at a census block group level anytime we have updated data to feed into the tool. Next slide, please. What we see here on our screen is an example of a map from the TPI data that was calculated. Here, the darker green, you'll see are those areas that have the highest propensity for transit. And as we get lighter, those are the lower areas for propensity. I will again mention that this is at the census block group level. That's why you see some varying degrees of the size of the areas and polygons represented on this map. Next slide, please. Mr. Chair, that completes my presentation. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you so much once again, Brian. Do any members have any questions or comments?
Mr. Chair, this is Christine.
Go ahead, Christine.
Hey, Brian, I'm just curious what was the motivation for this study? What were we trying to learn? This is the kind of thing we usually see from Valley Metro.
Hey, Christine. This is something that we had done in a study that we had done in the past, and we found it to be really useful. And with the number of studies that will be coming out of, or potentially coming out with the extension of Prop 400 or Proposition 479, we view it as a useful data point and one that we would like to be able to continue to calculate and update in-house rather than having to reach out to a consultant to prepare it as we have in the past.
Okay. It did look like a consultant was involved in this study though, right?
Absolutely. We partnered with Arcadis IBI on this, and we did have a stakeholder group that involved Valley Metro, the City of Phoenix, and the City of Tempe.
Okay, great. When they say transit propensity, what types of transit are they referring to?
So we purposely kept this mode agnostic and existing infrastructure agnostic. We looked at those factors that would lead someone to be more inclined to use transit in general, but did not take it to the level of looking at who might be more likely to use paratransit or who might be more likely to use light rail versus traditional bus service.
Okay, that answers my question. Thank you, Brian.
Certainly.
Thank you, Christine. Carol, you have a question?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is for information and discussion. Is it going to be approved? What is its future? Are we looking at a future approval, or it's always for information, or like what happens?
I believe this will just be information. I think more than anything, it's just letting you know that we now have this data set available and usable for any studies that you might be doing in your individual member agencies. And we also have this additionally available for us as a tool when we go about evaluating projects and programs, and when we look to, study proper transit solutions in specific areas.
Okay. And if we wanted to sit down with you all and dig a little deeper into it, would it be you or would it be somebody else?
Yep, certainly. I would be happy to sit down with you at any time. Please feel free to reach out to me after the meeting.
I'm just curious to learn a little bit more about how this compares to the tool that we use. And, if this is better, that's fantastic. We will consume it eagerly. But I would just like to dig into it a little more with you guys and understand how it differs and how it might be better.
Absolutely. I would be happy to have that conversation with you.
Thanks.
This is Anderson. I have a question.
Go ahead, sir.
How did this information come about? I mean, you said block level, but do you take surveys or do you ask people that are on the bus or transit or how do you find out the negative? Why don't people ride?
Thank you for the question, Mr. Anderson. So this was not survey-based. This is based solely on available census data. And it wasn't to ascertain necessarily why or why not a specific individual might use transit, but rather it was an exercise to look at those criteria or demographic factors that correlated well to transit usage and to be able to calculate those on a small geographic area to ascertain whether or not the population in that area would be more inclined to use transit based on those demographic data. So this was not based on a survey, and this was not based on any outreach to see why people used or did not use transit individually. Of
Thank you.
course.
Brian, this is Jesus. Is it fair to say that basically what you guys looked at was existing factors that have historically pointed to an individual that has more of a propensity or history or future reliability on transit, and then you put those into the hopper and the colors come out basically the higher number of the factors in that census block, then the more likely a higher percentage maybe of that particular census block would be inclined to use transit.
Mr. Chair, that's exactly what we've done. That is a fantastic way to state the work that we have done.
Thank you.
Yep.
After 2 years of chairs, I finally got something right. Christine, did you have another question, or you just had your hand up from last time?
No, I've got another one. Thank you, Chair. And it's for Brian or Ed. Are there going to be other studies similar to this coming up?
Ed, would you like to take that one?
Sure. Thank you, Chair Sapien and Christine, for the question. Not at the moment. We see this tool as flexible and adaptable, as Brian alluded to. It's transparent in how it's created. You can see the weights, you can see exactly how they apply, and we mean this to be a tool for our member agencies. And so if you guys would like to use it and dig in, we would encourage that. It does allow you a lot of flexibility and adaptability into the outputs and the inputs of this tool.
That's great, because it actually sort of informs my next question, which is there a way that we can get a copy of the study?
Absolutely. I'm happy to give you a copy of the findings as well as a copy of the spreadsheet tool itself, if you would like.
I actually want to ask that question on behalf of all of my fellow members. So that and my original question during the minutes, the information on those policies, that really wasn't intended just for me. I don't mind sharing that with everybody.
Thank you so much, Christine. Reed, you have a question?
Yeah, if you can put the last map back up, it seems to me that there's several areas that are huge in size. And my guess is there's not very many people living in them. So to say they're really high potential use for transit, I think would be misleading. I think it would make more sense if you had the number of the people who live in those areas. Because a couple of those, I think it's very small numbers. I could be wrong, but I'd be suspicious.
No, that's a great observation, and I briefly mentioned it while I was talking about the slide, but your premise is correct. These are census block groups, so they are essentially broken down by population to maintain a uniform population within groups. And due to that, this tool is the numbers it calculates in urban areas are much more meaningful than those rural areas just because of the geographic size of those census block groups themselves.
Brian, this is Jesus again. In my mind, when Reed was asking his question, would it be fair to say that even though some of those polygons may be big and the population small, there nonetheless seems to be a certain threshold that population in and of itself is nonetheless hitting, which potentially makes them more transit inclined?
That's correct, Chair. What I would say is that what you'll see there is that based on all of the factors that we've looked into for that particular block group, it would be the residents would be more inclined to use transit. That said, due to the geographic size of the block group and the location of it, transit might not be the best option, or traditional transit might not be the best option to serve that specific location.
Perfect. Yeah, I think that brings together my thinking and Reed's question very, very well. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other members have any questions? Okay, I guess mine is more of a comment. It would be really interesting to see this data or a map provided online so that those of us that actually operate service, you know, we could look at this stuff. I mean, we do the FTA stops data sometimes anyway, but it would be neat to see this and even to take a step further. I know like Kevin Tang on our team here at City of Phoenix, you know, those of you that are more GIS nerds than I am, it would be interesting to see these maps with an overlay of existing routes to kind of, you know, outsider looking in, are we getting things right? We make a service change or extend a route, but it would be super interesting to me to see how do our existing routes that we operate today look when you overlay them with this type of map. I don't know if that's even possible or if that's a Herculean effort. Just thinking out loud.
Mr. Chair, that's a fantastic recommendation, and we'll certainly look into putting some sort of online map together to display this data as well as display some reference layers so you might be able to provide a little bit of better context of what we're looking at.
Perfect. Thank you. Hannah, I got 2 things right today.
Chair, you're on a roll.
All right. Thank you so much for everyone's input on that. It's super interesting stuff. The next item is co-presented by Joe Bauer, City of Phoenix Deputy, Dane Riles, Valley Metro Marketing Program Coordinator. This item is on the agenda for information and discussion. And if I'm not mistaken, this will next go to additional MAG committees to provide staff above us a update on the fare collection system. Gentlemen, take it away.
Thank you, Chair Sapien. My name's Joe Bauer. I am with the City of Phoenix. I'm the Deputy Public Transit Director over facilities, and not directly related to fare collection system projects, but it is what it is. So next slide, please. Thank you. So this project, I have been involved in this project since 2014, way back, and we started looking at alternatives to our current fare collection system, which is a vintage or better legacy Scheiden-Bachmann fare boxes and back office that a lot of us are familiar with. You add in the ticket vending machines that are in the current light rail alignment, and in dog years, they're very old. So, you know, we're battling obsolescence, end of life with our fare boxes and our ticket vending machines. But we started down this path, and in 2019, we issued a procurement for a fare collection system modernization project, and we are partnered in this endeavor with Valley Metro, and so the Public Transit Department and Valley Metro. And in 2020, our Phoenix City Council awarded the contract to VIX Technologies, and shortly thereafter, the Valley Metro Board awarded contracts to VIX Technologies and Incom for parts of the fare collection 3 years down the road. And we're in the home stretch. The next 6 months are very intense, but this package represents a mobile app for trip planning, real-time information and ticketing, 2 websites, a customer support call center for mobile ticketing and reloadable smart cards, and a revamped retail network across the valley. So it's a very large project. Next slide, please, Han. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. Should we still have been on the first slide? Okay, thank you.
All right. So with this project, you know, it is regional. We had workshops back a number of years with the regional partners to get input on what we wanted and what we wanted to develop. We had a common goal that we were going to build a base was implemented and successful, we would look at future improvements or features that we desired. Our project goals, we wanted more options for our customers. So a mobile ticketing application, being account-based, a reloadable smart card, being account-based, where you can set up your accounts, manage your own ticketing and track and report issues. We wanted to improve the data collection and the ridership, plus the revenue reconciliation. So that revenue reconciliation and ridership really involved the desire for the region to get a control over the reduced fare use in the region. We had the honor system. We still do have the honor system. A lot of issues with it's easy for anybody, regardless of whether they qualify for reduced fare, to use it. So we wanted to rein that in. And then also we wanted to phase this project in and, looking down the road at future endeavors. Next slide, please. One more, please. So now we fast forward to July 2021. We started in the project officially kicked off in September of 20. There were 70 different design review documents that involved both agencies to review and provide input. But we looked at launching an expedited mobile app, is what we called it, in July 2021, which we did, and that was allowed for trip planning and real-time vehicle information, plus rider alerts. And as indicated on the slide, we've had over 400,000 downloads to date. Then in February of 2023, in time for Super Bowl, we launched a mobile fare on our mobile app. So you could purchase tickets, one ride in all days, passes. This was our phase one of our project. We've had over 1 million scans to date, and to do that, we had to put a validator, which can scan a barcode on all the buses and at all light rail platforms. Next slide, please. So now, as I mentioned, we're in the home stretch. The next 6 months are the hardest part of the project and the heaviest lift, and it's taken a lot of dedicated individuals at both agencies to make this happen. We are starting outreach with bus operators, rail operators, the general public, where there's announcements on buses that changes are coming to the fare collection system. We're going to be launching very soon a reduced fare application website where, at the future date, you'll be required to have registered to get qualify for reduced fare following abiding by the criteria that we have for that. That's another heavy lift that the region's undertaking. We'll be doing a lot of outreach, a lot of hands-on, getting to the population that may be applicable to, from high school students to seniors, and everything in between. So, and then next week, actually the week of December 11th, we are starting a platinum branding, is what City of Phoenix employees use, State of Arizona, Maricopa County, Valley Metro staff. We are starting to test the system. I like to call it from well to wheel, but we're testing it from the tapping to the back office, and for the financial accounting end of that. We're going to be introducing fare capping, or as it's called, smart fare, where you pay as you go. And when you reach a cap, whether it's daily, weekly, or monthly, then you will not pay for the next rides in your account. So that's happening next week. That's starting. And then in December and in early January, we'll be doing more outreach educating the public, the smart fare, reduced fare outreach, and Valley Metro's marketing and communications staff are integral to that effort. It's a very heavy lift and it's a large audience, but we're up for the challenge. Next slide. So coming at the end of January, we're going to be launching the Platinum card, and that'll, as you can see in the graphic, that is the new copper card. That is the branding for the new reloadable smart card. We're going to target, certain organizations, students, the ASU card, to get that going and test the system before we launch it a few months later to the general public. And as you can see, that next milestone in the second quarter of 2024, the reloadable cards will replace the mag stripes. We'll have a sunset period for the elimination of the mag stripe pass. We'll have account-based websites for institutions to manage their quote Platinum card, and for individuals to manage their own personal card on a public website. We're going to get new fare vending machines at all the light rail platforms, and there'll be 2 on the streetcar in Tempe. We're going to start the smart fare, which is pay as you go, which is the capping concept. We're having a new retail network that they call them J-hooks. So where you see all your usual gift cards for Apple, Google, you name it, there'll be a Valley Metro card, just as it's shown in the graphic, hanging on the rack. And then the final step is cash-only fare boxes that will tie in to, once we get the ticket vending machines up and running, we're going to switch the fare boxes in the fleet, and that'll tie into the elimination grace period for the mag stripe. Next slide. And with that, Dane, would you like to introduce yourself?
Perfect. Thank you, Joe. Mr. Chair and committee members, appreciate the time this afternoon. And my name is Dane Riles. I'm a marketing program coordinator with Valley Metro, and I work closely with Joe and the City of Phoenix and our regional partners on this very important project. As Joe mentioned, I'm going to talk a little bit about Smart Fare, which is really the foundation of the new fare system, and then I'll touch a little bit on the transition to the new system. As Joe mentioned previously, Smart Fare is a pay-as-you-go system. Other agencies or the industry may refer to it as fare capping, but really the main idea is that instead of our riders buying their passes up front like they do today, they will instead pay as they go. So they will load value to an account that they have with Valley Metro, either through the Valley Metro app or with their copper card. They will tap their copper card or scan the Valley Metro app every time they ride, and then they will pay for that trip or pay the appropriate fare as they go. So on the screen, we do have listed, there is a daily maximum amount, a weekly maximum, and a monthly maximum. So someone who is using the pay-as-you-go Smart Fare system will never pay more than $4 in a day, $20 in a week, or $64 in a month for local full fare service. So I do want to just pause and kind of walk through an example of what this would look like for the everyday rider. If I board the bus this morning and tap my copper card, I would pay $2 for that trip on local service. If I rode again this afternoon and I tapped my card again, I would pay another $2, and now I've paid $4 for the day. If I were to take a third trip in the day, and I would still tap my card, but the system, Smart Fare is the name, and that's why we gave the name, is the system is smart, and it knows that you've reached that $4 maximum, and it will not charge you any more for local service the rest of the day. The same would be true for the weekly maximum. Once you've paid the $20 in a calendar week, you will still tap your card or scan your phone every time you board, but you will not be charged for those trips. And again, the same is true for the month as well. And as you can see with this example, it really shows how the new system is not only convenient for our riders, but really it's more equitable way to charge fare. We're not asking riders to pay $64 up front for a 31-day pass like they would in the current system. Instead, they're able to pay as they go. They can load their account as they go as well. And then we will stop charging them when they reach those set amounts. So it's really a more user-friendly way. And if you think about someone who maybe can't afford $64 up front, if they spend $4 every day for 31 days as for a day pass, they're going to be spending a lot more than the $64. So we're really excited for this option for our riders. Again, it's a more equitable and friendly way for them to pay. As Joe mentioned earlier, we will still have reduced fare as an option. There is a smart fare reduced fare rate that does require the account to be eligible for reduced fare, but you can see those prices are also on the screen. The main thing that I think we want to make sure to communicate not only to this group, but also to everyone about the system is that our base prices for fare are not changing. The $4 a day, $20 for 7 days, and $64 for 31 days does match the pricing of our fare system today. So we're really not changing the price as much as we're changing how you pay, and again, making it a little more convenient for everyone. Next slide, please. So as Joe kind of alluded to, with the transition to the new system, there is a lot of communication and outreach that will need to happen, not only to our riders, but to our frontline staff as well. Right now on the buses, we do have audio announcements and decals that are being installed actually this week, letting riders know that upgrades are coming to the fare system. As we get closer to the launch, we will continue to increase the amount of communications and outreach that we do with our riders. And that will include, as I mentioned, frontline staff education. We will be doing events across the valley to give cards out, to let people apply for reduced fare, to make sure they know what's changing. And then, as I mentioned, we will be doing specific outreach to reduced fare, thinking of, those audiences, especially youth or seniors. Today, they might be showing their driver's license to buy reduced fare, but in the new fare system, they would need to get the account. So we do want to make sure we do a lot of outreach to them to make sure that they know that they need the account and how to get it. And then, as you can imagine, we will be doing a lot of pop-up events, whether they're Valley Metro hosted or collaboration with the city, and also attending community events to make sure that all of our riders know that there are upgrades and changes coming to the fare system. And we also want to make sure that they have enough notice to make the change and the transition with us. To help with that, we are going to do a soft launch of the new fare system. So we're not going to change it overnight for anyone. There will be plenty of notice, and there will be a period where both fare systems are in place, which allows our riders to make the transition and get into the new system before we start to eliminate some of the old fare media and the old equipment on the system. And then we do plan to give the deadlines for the transition months in advance, again, so our riders are aware and know that the changes are coming and can make that change ahead of the old fare system being removed. Next slide, please. Before we open up to questions, I do just want to briefly mention we do have a landing page for this project on the Valley Metro website. It's valleymetro.org/fare technology, and that page gives an overview of everything that's coming with the new system. It does have frequently asked questions, and it also has a how to prepare tab. So anyone who's using, whether it's cash, a platinum pass, a paper pass, there's an explanation of how to prepare for the new system and what you'll have to do to make that transition. So we really hope that's a useful resource for our riders as well. And I will pause there for questions.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Good stuff. I know everyone been working on this for. I'll start with Christine. And
thank you, Mr. Chair. Dane, you said that the fares aren't changing. I thought there was a fare study going on at Valley Metro now. So if there is a change, is that sort of like pushing out an update to the system or something like that, or is it a lot more involved?
Yeah, that's a great point. There is a fare study happening with Valley Metro right now, and that is a separate project, even though it's very closely related to this one. So whatever the results of that study would be, if there are changes that come of that, that's the beauty of a system that's based on technology, is that it would just be an upgrade to the system or an update. So, we'll have to see what the results of that study are, but if there were changes, they would be implemented through the new system.
Thanks, Dane.
You bet.
Current Scheiden-Bachmann system know that the couple times we've had fare changes over the years, we have to do a change order, we have to test it. It's a lot more labor intensive, I'll call it. And that was one of the ideas behind this newer technology, is being able to be a little more nimble when we did have those changes, recognizing they don't happen very often. But the current system, German engineering at its finest. I'll leave it at that. Anyone else have any questions? All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen. I am not hearing any other questions. The one thing that I would really, really encourage everyone to do is keep an eye out for when those notifications start coming out, because it is going to be incumbent upon all of us to share this information with our passengers. However we do that, social media, onboard, audible announcements, visual announcements, we're going to have A-frames. This is going to be one of the key things to this is going to be, in order to take advantage of that fare capping, we're going to have to kind of drill it into our passengers' heads that they need to tap at the entry point of each and every one of those trips, light rail, bus, or otherwise. And I know I've seen some crowds at light rail platforms, where some people kind of bypass the equipment, and we're just going to have to let everyone know, in order to take advantage of that fare capping, which really benefits the passenger because it builds on the different tiers that we have for like 1 day, 7 day, 31 day passes. They're going to have to tap each time, and we're just going to have to remind/train everyone of that. So we'll all work together on that. All right, moving on to item 8, member agency updates. Are there any updates or announcements by any committee members? Now's your chance before the end of the year. Anybody have anything?
I do.
Carol, go ahead.
Sorry, I can't find my hand raised that fast. It's not really this committee, but it's all the same people. I just want to let everyone know that this Friday is Joe Gregory's last day with Valley Metro. And I sent out an invitation to a happy hour for him on Wednesday at Cornish Pasty, but some of them I think they got spam blocked. So if you didn't get that, everybody's invited. Joe is moving on to a great opportunity at ASU. He's going to be the director of GIS on the business side of ASU. So we wish him well, but everybody's invited to wish him well on Wednesday, Cornish Pasty, 4 o'clock.
I thought you said Friday.
Friday's his last day.
Oh,
We're
okay.
doing the happy hour on Wednesday so that everybody doesn't have to come downtown on Friday afternoon.
Wednesday.
You,
okay, so Wednesday, Cornish Pasty.
For you,
Thank
Mr.
you so
Chair,
much.
we can do it on Friday.
We'll do both. Let's just do both. I'll meet you at Cornish Pasty.
If anybody didn't get that invitation, just let me know and I'll send it to you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else have anything to share with the team? All right, are there any requests by a transit committee member for an item on a future agenda? Speak now or email them to Hannah when you have that epiphany. All right, next meeting date, a reminder to committee members that our next meeting is scheduled for Monday, January 8th, 2024 at 1 p.m. via teleconference. Before we adjourn, I wanted to thank everyone that is a member and everyone at the MAG staff that puts these things together and keeps me the handler. And MAG does very well of giving me all the proper notes for preparing for these meetings. So thank you to everyone for your support over the past 2 years that I've chaired the transit committee. I will still be a member, but I will no longer be the chair. And I have committed to Hannah and Audra and Steph a peaceful transition of power. I'm not going to question the vote, and I'm not going to storm the 302 building because it's the same building I work in. So thank you, everybody, for your hard work, your dedication over the past couple of years that I've chaired this committee. I know you all are dedicated to the best service, collaborative service, and approaching things from a regional basis. And I couldn't think of a better group to work with than you all. So thank you so much. Hannah, thanks for keeping me in line. You and Steph and Audra, you do an awesome job of letting me know what's on the horizon. So I really, really appreciate that. And I hope everyone has a good holiday and wraps up your year and comes back on January 8th for our next exciting meeting, which I'm sure will have an exciting agenda. And I will do my best to support Kevin, but also to poke and prod with lots of questions. So with no further business, the meeting of the MAG Transit Committee is now adjourned.
Happy holidays.
Thank you so much. At 1:55 p.m. And luckily enough, we do not need a roll call needed. We do not need a roll call for adjournment. Thank you, everybody.